Yeah, it's very good, but it's a charming place.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can walk through the agenda here. We'll highlight the current and incoming leaders of the cardiothoracic surgery professional community. We've got some membership statistics, including the representation within this community as it relates to heart, lung, PVD, and MCS. And then we'll talk about the highlights for this community at Prague in 2024. And then some planning ideas for the coming year after the Prague meeting. Symposia proposals open up within just about 5 or 6 weeks after that. And then we'll see if there's any other discussion. So here we have the current leadership of the professional community. And Dave, do you want to say anything about the?
Yeah. So actually, during the last year, I think we've had a good number of interactions with our group here. And Gabriel, I'm glad you're kind of joining the ranks here as well. Do you, Greg or Juliet, know who's actually turning over? So it looks like we've got Dr. Sivasan turning over this year, as well as Dr. Silvestri.
Actually, since they're on Leadership Advisory Forum, those are 1-year terms that are renewed each year. So I think they'll be continuing. In those roles.
Yes,
Okay.
no one is leaving.
Right. So this is a steady state group for this year.
Okay, perfect.
And the
I
coming
mean, as we talk about it, I guess during most of these meetings, getting more of our CTS surgeon colleagues involved here in North America and internationally is going to continue to be a goal of our group. So I'm really looking forward to Prague when we actually get to meet people and figure out from a timeline perspective. As you guys know, these times tend to work well for us, but for people in other time zones, it can be quite difficult. When we've had our symposia and webinars, it's kind of difficult to find a time that works for everybody, as we all know. I mean, being a surgeon specifically, it's even more difficult. But yeah, no, I look forward to working with this group and look forward to really advancing the membership and the participation.
Here you can see that this group is actually the largest percentage of ISHLT. 27% of ISHLT members have indicated that this is their primary professional community, followed by pulmonology and cardiology. And let's see, I do have, and here you can see although it's the largest group, the membership in the group is slipping slightly from 2022 to 2023. And this is going to be a big focus of ISHLT is making sure that ISHLT provides value and a good home for cardiothoracic surgeons, and that it's continued to be recognized as a unique society, the multidisciplinary international nature, and so that we can build those numbers back up.
So Greg, just for my clarification here, this represents all cardiothoracic surgeons, not just those who have stated an affiliation with our professional community.
This is those who have identified this as their primary professional community.
Sorry,
So,
Nico, you're.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I think this is interesting, and I'm glad you bring it up. We need to be aware of this. You know, in the multidisciplinary or societies. I've grown to enjoy more and more participating on multidisciplinary meetings where I get to learn much more than what I get to share from a surgeon's perspective when we participate. And think of ASIO, think of the cardiology as the American College of Cardiology or whatever. But what it is that it is on us to figure this out. The first thing is that to make that larger membership presence notice. It is on us. We need to figure out how to, and then how to encourage, you know, the sort of give the opportunity, maybe to surgeons that are to really take action or have presence on stage. You can think of a large number of changes that are happening in transplantation, say in procurement, transportation, preservation, that definitely we are at the core of it.
exactly.
So we may have the responsibility to take, in a way, in a good way, ownership of it and lead, you know, in a way, the presentations, the discussions, the not to impose about it, but to keep the drive to present and discuss these things and look at opportunities for research that might come up. At the end of the day, we are on the trenches. For example, doing those DCDs or putting those hearts on the transmedics or whatnot.
Okay.
It's an observation.
Do you
you
think
know?
Do you
Yeah.
think that that folks are leaving ISHLT to go with surgery to go with STS or other surgery focused groups?
No, because as it relates to lung or heart failure and eventually thoracic transplantation, there is these committees within the AATS, within the STS, that some of us have the opportunity to participate, but they are not the core topic of those societies.
I have to admit, though, it is a good thought, right? And Nico, like you're saying, it is on us. It's on the actual troops, as it were, to continue to push and to grow the enthusiasm for the younger generation. Greg, my impression is that there are more people leaving societies just because there are too many societies. You know, people are very stretched and stressed. And, you know, in one calendar year, I've had to pay more sort of membership fees and association things and certificates that I'm starting to wonder myself, well, what am I gaining out of all of these? And so I think you both hit the nail on the head. Like, number one, Greg, we need to show that membership is worthwhile. And honestly, the society speaks for itself. We just need to get the word out and continue to, you know, provide people with the product that we are. But Nico, like you're saying, it's on us, isn't it, to spread the word and to get people involved, because we can't be this sort of closed group of people that are always trying to hit the spotlight and get the publications and be on the podium. That's not how this works. It's our job to push forward the next generation.
Gabe, I'd be interested. Yeah.
Just wondering how we could do that. Like different, like I mean, we had that great webinar, maybe more smaller but higher kind of frequency events, maybe like the Twitter type roundtables, or I don't know. It does make sense what you're saying, and we do have to keep reaching out to the surgical audience and the the young surgeons coming in, and so that they don't view ISHLT as just like a banner transplant esoteric, but like that's where they're bad, and ECMO chops come in. That's where everything comes in. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Ideas to push for the coming year.
Yeah.
Part of the it's been an ongoing discussion in terms of collaborations on consensus with other societies and so on. So what's happening in some of consensus, expert consensus, or some guidelines that have come to ISHLT that include surgical aspects, but it's been they have come for endorsement. One of the things have been, and then you see who are involved in the development of those documents, and many of them are actually members of the ISHLT, just acting with a different hat.
Yeah.
So the work is even done by part of our members, and then so in terms of it's being, well, that's for the board of directors, and so a strategy on how to interact with the other societies, but in terms of, okay, are we going to endorse, or are we going to do an equal collaboration in the development of these guidelines, these consensus, being that part of our members are doing the work anyways, whether from cardiology or different specialties, right? And then the other thing that sort of came up, that I don't know, I don't want to get ahead of the time in the recent meeting with the board of directors, and was the collaboration in educational activities moving forward. For example, with Society of Thoracic Surgeons, American Association of Thoracic Surgeons, or the European Association for that matter. So those strategies are under consideration by the higher leadership.
That's a great point, Nico. There's like a huge need, right, to keep training transplant surgeons and to make sure that there's good pathways for that. And procurement techniques are a little bit harder now to get trained in with the evolution of third-party programs in some instances. And that was a great point about the, interacting with some of the other committees, like the AATS, for example, like that writing committee. Maybe has there ever been any precedent for joint papers like ISHLT, AATS, combined, writing document about a topic?
There has been, and I agree. This is there are so many organizations, as we've been talking about, and they're stepping on each other and overlapping in different ways, and that's not an efficient use of everybody's time and money and resources. So we need more collaborations exactly like that, collaborative documents that are put together by a group of organizations. Right now, ASTS is working on an NRP document, and ISHLT is working on an NRP document, and so we're trying to bring those two efforts together. It includes it's a lot of the same people all of the time doing work for multiple organizations, and I think to the extent that we can build bridges to collaborate with other organizations, that's going to help everybody. Right. The goal is to take meetings off the calendar and get the same quality of work done. Any other thoughts on this? This is so important, right? Any other thoughts on what we can do? I love the idea of sort of smaller, shorter, but higher frequency events. Like we could do the sort of mini, instead of a full hour webinar, shorter bits, perhaps podcasts, those kinds of Google Hangout chats.
The one thing that have worked out pretty well that is interesting is like the interview with the author. So a landmark paper comes out, and that the American College of Cardiology have done it, or so. There's such a wealth of science that is being published at ISHLT. And so an interview with the authors, a podcast, sort of podcast, or webinar. Because if we do cadence, if we were to do cadence and alternate the webinar and the podcast, and eventually we had, and see what you think, Dave, but we had entertained with Dave Nagpal, and we were entertaining at last year's meeting, I interviewed to the pioneers. And so really the pioneers that are still around of transplantation, how much value and inspiration that can have for the younger generations. Talk about engagement.
Yeah, it's true. And the kind of more informal discussion type formats would really lend well. Fireside chat.
Without being an hour proposition, right?
Yeah.
20, 30 minutes.
Those are great. I mean, I also think, Nico, like, I mean, interviews with like people like you guys and more like, we did this with like a couple of years back, and it was like in the early career workforce on STS. There was a lot of like mentorship type webinars and podcasts and stuff like that. But I never really came across one related to transplant surgery, which it would be interesting. Like, how did you develop your path, and where did you train, and do you need to do a fellowship, and did you how do you maintain an elective practice, or what are the opportunities? How much do you love what you do? And I mean, all these kind of things about cardiac transplantation and lung transplantation and left ventricular assist devices, ECMO programs, but like, talking about it kind of in maybe the early to mid-career type pathway as well, to get people jazzed about it.
And eventually those that are not so technical, those topics that are not so technical, that are not so specific, you may argue, you can then reach out and link. There is the patients that have their professional communities or the mid-level providers, and then interact, and if it is even to expand the audience for those and the presence at large of ISHLT. But the webinars are super good and super good content, I believe, from the different professional communities and IDM, but they're so specific and then you end up with 80, 100 people signing up. It's super good durable material that is created and posted in YouTube, but might not be accessible to the public at large. The things that are more informal, we may think of ways to make it accessible to, right?
Yeah, you can get to the link. That's great for med students and residents that they're trying to get inspired, and they'll find a fireside chat with you and Ken McCurry or something, but then also maybe a talk with Dave about how he got into what he's doing, and how his day-to-day practice is, and stuff, how he trained and where the training opportunities are, things like that.
I guess we can get into some of these ideas, like when we're talking about what to do later on this year, because all these are, I think, good ideas. What we have to do is figure out what the actual audience is, but most importantly, going forward, we need to figure out how we can show that there's value to membership, especially for those surgeons who are too busy or not interested in participating in the academic kind of productivity that ISHLT kind of provides. I mean, if we have surgeons that are in the field, transplanters, VAD surgeons, what would they join for? Ideally, if we could offer them some kind of really quick CME that would be, accredited and accessible, like you're saying, Gabe, then that would make sense. I kind of feel like a lot of the fireside chats and whatnot that you've mentioned, that'd be great for medical students and even pre-medical students to like show the enthusiasm, so that at that stage we can start attracting the cream of the crop. So that's one sort of aspect, but another aspect is the CTS community at large, and then the third aspect, which we really should figure out, is the members. How can we really make the members feel like this is fantastic? Sorry, Nico, you were saying
it's a great one. That's people log in for that. It helps them. They don't have to travel. And they love to hear cutting edge topics. You know, maybe not everybody, you have 807 surgeons, maybe that not all of them know about the newest donor situations or the newest transplant techniques or whatever.
Yeah. Honestly, I think our last CTS webinar was exactly that, wasn't it? It was cutting edge talks, 3 talks. It was fantastic, actually.
Yeah.
This has been great. I've got 2 pages of notes. We can and this can form the basis of a discussion in Prague at the meeting that we'll have in Prague. Okay. This is this graph shows ISHLT went to a tiered membership program this year in an effort to support members around the world and remove barriers to participation, and also created a non-physician membership category. And it's been really successful, particularly the non-physicians. You can see the blue line is where we ended up. The orange line is where we thought we would be. So you can see the physician, middle and low income, and the non-physician high income categories really grew as a result of the new dues structure. And this is a breakdown of ISHLT membership. Non-US membership is growing, and I think that's going to be a big part of the future growth for the society, but it still is just under, it's about 66% US, and then Canada in North America, and then the next biggest chunk is Europe at 15%.
You know, Greg, I have to say, like, that pie chart is worth paying attention to as well, because, you know, knowing this, maybe we don't have to stress so much about what time we have our webinars. The reality is, if most people are in North America, and by far within that, most people are in America, then we need to cater to that audience. Like, it's not like we should put something at 6 a.m.
Right.
Eastern Standard Time or whatever, so that, somebody in the Middle East or wherever. So that's good to know. We don't want to ignore our predominant membership, right?
Yeah, and you would argue South America is aligned. That's a nice thing about traveling to Argentina, for example, 2 hour difference, 1 hour difference, depending on the stage of the season, and no jet lag whatsoever. Of course, I get more jet lag flying to Texas, for that matter. but yeah, right. So and then there is you can easily we've been trying to do these timings with Europe, but you say, okay, the surgical activities. Well, early in the US is mid-afternoon in Europe, so the one surgeons are maybe heading to the operating room or before, and the ones in Europe are already coming out of their morning case or whatnot. There is other opportunities to find the right time.
Our strength is going to be the international presence. There's no question that growing non-North American membership is definitely important for us, but we definitely need to focus on US and Canada as well, I suppose. Now, does North America also include Mexico?
It does. We have some, but not many members in Mexico.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So in Prague, the professional community and IDN meetings, here you can see the CT surgery meeting is Thursday from 6 to 7:15, and that'll follow the poster session, which ends at 5:30. The bars and the snacks will be open until 6 o'clock, and you can grab some things and bring them into the room. And the IDN meetings will be held at lunch, and there will be a box lunch available for those as well. And those will also be on Thursday and Friday.
All right.
So here's a bit about what what we've accomplished, what this group has accomplished in the past year. The webinar, we had 57 registered. And look at that YouTube views. That's outstanding.
I wonder how does it compare with other professional communities, not out of competition, out of curiosity, like anesthesia that has such a growth, well, certainly cardiology.
Yeah, but by far the most asynchronous views.
Yeah, that's quite interesting.
Yeah, which
That's
I think that tells me like people need to do it on their own time, because your schedules are the hardest out of everybody in ISHLT.
oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And that's all we have